What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. When it comes to solo queue, there's no doubt that the fact that a champion is easy to play is a pretty significant advantage, since you have a lot less mechanics to worry about when playing them. And pretty much all of the champions on this list do have fairly solid win rates and are quite good for solo queue, as a direct result of them being so easy to play. As we count down the top 10 easiest champions to play in League of Legends, we'll be measuring these champions by how easy it is to get good with them and play them at a reasonably high level. Let's get started. At number 10, we have Annie. With a point and click stun and an extremely easy to pull off and very potent burst damage combo, Annie's raw damage makes her quite a powerful force that is super annoying to play against and doesn't really require too much mechanical skill at all. All of her abilities are extremely easy to hit, and her stun is also quite easy to micro. It's also super easy to last hit minions with her due to the cooldown reduction and mana refund on her disintegrate. And let's not forget that due to the low impact her shield has, she essentially plays like a champion that really only has 3 abilities. Positioning with her can be tough sometimes, which is why she's lower on the list, but the big thing with Annie is that when you lose to her or when you outplay someone on her, it never really feels like a high skill matchup, since she's a pretty face roll champion due to the general lack of mechanical difficulty within her kit. At number 9, it's Soraka. Although with the Soraka rework, she was made a tiny bit harder to play, when you're a champion that's entirely based around healing your allies, there's never really going to be too much mechanical difficulty involved. Soraka's entire gameplay revolves around letting your team do the dirty work, and it's never going to be hard for you to just heal people. Being able to heal your allies is really awesome as well, since it creates a playstyle that is very forgiving of your team's mistakes, since you can heal them up so quickly if they take some free damage. Her silence is also super easy to land, and positioning on Soraka is quite easy as well, since you never really have to be the main aggressor at all to be successful with her. So the only difficult things in her kit really are landing your Q, which really is not that important to succeed with her, since it's not too impactful of an ability, and then using her ultimate, which, while it's true that paying attention to other areas on the map can be a little bit tough, your team never really expects to get Soraka ulted. Everyone kinda just forgets about it, so they don't really play with it in mind, and so once again, it's not too punishing if you mess up that aspect of her kit. And at number 8, it's Sona. Although Sona's ultimate can take a bit to get used to landing properly, the rest of her kit is a total face roll, and since her heal is so incredibly potent, she creates a playstyle that is very forgiving of mistakes, especially in lane, and as well, forgiving of your teammates' mistakes due to her healing. So if you mess up and take a bad trade, it doesn't really matter at all. You don't have to play aggressive with her and can just heal it up for a super easy game, or you could also go for some really easy trades since her aggressive combo is as simple as a Q with an auto attack. Using your W and E is so ridiculously simple that you could honestly go as far as to arguably say that she basically only has 2 abilities for you to worry about in her kit. And managing her power chords isn't really difficult at all, so it comes down to positioning and landing your ultimate, both of which are quite easy to learn and pick up, since you don't really have to try to make crazy plays at all. Even though you might have the option to, it's not something you ever need to do to succeed on her. And the supportive playstyle as a whole in general is one that is fairly simple and easy to be good at, since it puts a lot of the difficulty on your team instead. At number 7, it's Rammus. With a W that is really just a passive that makes him super tanky, and only really gives him 3 abilities for you to actually worry about using properly, comboed with a targeted crowd control in his taunt, and his powerball being quite easy to land as well, and not to mention his ultimate being extremely easy to use, and you're left with a champion that doesn't really have any mechanical difficulty whatsoever. The only thing is not getting kited when you use your powerball, but since you get a decent amount of movement speed, it's really not that hard to avoid, and a point and click taunt is just so easy to wreck an AD carry with if you look at how long it lasts for. The fact that he's so damn tanky makes his playstyle super forgiving, meaning that you aren't going to get punished for a lot of mistakes that you might make on him, since it's a lot harder for the enemies to kill you. If you get caught out or mess up your positioning, it's not really going to matter that much since you're so tanky anyways and can escape with your powerball. He doesn't take too much damage in the jungle either, since he does get really tanky, so with his super easy mechanics and forgiving playstyle, you're left with an extremely easy champion to play. And at number 6, it's Malphite. And taking a look at his kit, it's no surprise. His Q is targeted and super easy to make use of. His W might as well be a passive, since it's as simple as Use this when you're auto attacking someone, and his E as well is very easy to land and gives him some nice wave clear too. His passive makes him crazy tanky and makes it forgiving of bad trades and small positional mistakes, and in general a tanky character is going to be reasonably easier to play since you won't have to worry as much or sometimes even at all about positioning. And so that leaves his ultimate, which honestly is quite easy to land since it's so fast and has a decently sized radius. It's more of a matter of when to use it rather than actually landing it properly, not to mention can be used as an awesome escape tool if you're getting ganked, making him a pretty safe champion to lane with. His ultimate combos nicely with his kit, ensuring that you land everything in a fight, and so the only thing that makes Malphite hard is the fact that if you somehow mess up your ultimate, it's a little bit punishing since you are kind of going to be a bit useless in that fight, but it's not a huge worry since it is so easy to land. At number 5, it's Nunu. Once again, another super tanky character. Due to his Q, he's super easy to play in the jungle since you won't take damage and farming will be crazy easy. And since his W is basically a passive, he only really has 2 major abilities in fights, one of which is targeted. And when it comes to his ultimate, it might be a little bit weird to say, but landing a bad Nunu ultimate isn't really a big deal, and it's not a punishing mistake to make. And either way still is fairly easy since it's really just a zoning tool, not something you use for the damage. If you can get a good ultimate off though, it can be really powerful, but you're never really going to lose a fight due to a bad Nunu ultimate. So in combo with his tankiness and sustain from his Q, he's super easy to use in fights since all you really have to do is snowball whoever is close to you and give the attack speed buff to your teammate. You get to play a very supportive style, which makes the strategy involving him super simple. You do have to micro his passive, but it is just another thing that's really not that important most of the time. You don't really have to counter jungle on him at all to succeed, and since his Q is useless in a fight, his kit is really simple, and his tanky with sustained playstyle is very simple to use and easy to be effective with. And at number 4, it's Garen. Once again, a very tanky champion with great sustain. Garen's sustain being a passive and tankiness from his W gives him a very easy playstyle to make use of, and his offensive abilities are quite easy as well since everything is really just point and click. His whole kit combos quite fluidly, and the targeted silence is really powerful, as is the targeted ultimate. Having passive sustain that is pretty ridiculous regen is awesome, and with a very simple kit mechanically, Garen really just comes down to not getting kited in a fight, since his gap closer isn't that great, but it's still not too hard due to the movement speed and tankiness on his W, as well as the power that he gets when he has flash up. His spin has a reasonably sized range, as does his ultimate, making the abilities easy to make use of, and it's fairly difficult to make mistakes on his kit as a whole when playing Garen. At number 3, it's Maokai, and I think we're starting to see a recurring theme now. A champion that is tanky, has sustain, and doesn't really have any difficult skill shots at all is in general going to be quite an easy champion to play, and Maokai is no exception. A targeted W gives him super reliable and easy to use crowd control, and his high amount of sustain comboed with his tankiness makes him very forgiving of any mistakes that you might make on him. His Q is also super easy to land since you just combo with his W, and his ultimate is easy too since it has such a huge radius. His sapling can be a bit tough to land, but it's not a key part of his kit, so if you mess it up, it's not a big deal and you're not going to get punished at all. And his kit overall has some decent wave clear and damages to give you some nice tools to work with, and teamfighting with Maokai is a breeze due to the targeted W allowing you to combo your entire kit to ensure that you hit everything with no real difficulty, as the supportive nature of the champion allows your team to do most of the heavy lifting. And on number 2, we have Taric. Once again, another champion who is super tanky with great sustain, and the key part of his kit being a ranged targeted ability ensures that you're going to have quite an easy time. His W and ultimate combo nicely with his targeted stun to ensure that you aren't really going to miss them, and the tankiness and sustain makes it so that any mistakes you make in lane aren't really that punishing at all, making him a very forgiving champion, and being able to heal your ally is great too, since it makes you able to forgive some of your allies' mistakes as well. A lot of his power comes from auras and passives, so all you really have to do is use his stun at decent times to be good at Taric, which is really easy since it is targeted with a pretty nice range on it. His mechanics and kit are just super simple, you can't really mess it up. I mean, I guess you could maybe miss his W sometimes since it does have somewhat of a low range, but when comboed with his stun, it's not really going to happen, so you're left with a champion that is just super easy to play. And at number 1, it's Warwick. First off, 2 of his abilities are basically passives, so you're left with really only 2 abilities in his kit for you to worry about, both of which are completely targeted and have pretty nice ranges. He's also super tanky with fantastic sustain to ensure that you're never going to get caught low in the jungle. His ultimate is super easy to make use of since it's really just point and click, and since it's a great gap closer, you aren't going to have to worry about being kited. And since he's tanky with sustain, his kit is very forgiving of mistakes, and positioning poorly isn't a big deal either. And with his ultimate, he's super easy to be very impactful on, and so really all you have to learn is to just not jump in 1 versus 5. And with super easy mechanics, tankiness, great sustain, and nothing but passives and targeted abilities within his kit, it's no surprise that Warwick takes the number 1 spot for the easiest champion in League of Legends. And that just about wraps it up. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like button to help support me, as well as you can subscribe for some more awesome content in the future. Definitely make sure to check out some of my other videos on the screen too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.